It can be difficult to improve your self-awareness because it seems so abstract. Anyone can improve his or her self-awareness with the right tools and a little practice. The goal of this guide is to provide you with an overview of what self-awareness is, why it matters, and how to properly implement a handful of great exercises and methods. What is self-awareness? Paying attention to how you feel, think, and act is the habit of developing self-awareness. In a more specific sense, self-awareness concerns observing yourself. To be more precise, learning to be curious about your own mind is synonymous with being self-aware. Pay attention to what bothers you about other people. We usually find what we dislike the most in other people in ourselves. If you don't know how to change these things or don't believe it's possible, you may end up ignoring them or living in denial. However, ignoring problems or living in denial about them isn't really bliss. Is there a particular example of someone or something that really annoys or irritates you? Ask yourself the following questions. Is there something about me that causes this to happen? Am I replicating that behavior? Think about your thoughts. You may be familiar with mindfulness meditation, which demands pausing to concentrate on your breath or some other physical process and then re-entering your focus if your thoughts wander. Mindfulness meditation has been proven to help with everything from weight loss to depression relief, but it can also boost your self-awareness to an astounding degree. When you practice watching and observing your thoughts without attaching to them or thinking about them, you internalize a powerful idea. Mindfulness meditation is one of the best ways to learn more about how your thoughts and emotions work. It is common for us to be unaware of our mental processes because we are frequently lost in our thoughts, overthinking. Because our brains decide to throw thoughts at us, we erroneously assume that they are true or worthy of consideration. Opening your eyes to how the thinking mind works and how much more there is to you than the mere content of your thoughts is a hallmark of regular mindfulness practice. Reading good quality fiction is key to a well-rounded life. Great writers are great observers of the world around them, and their ability to spot subtle details and characteristics of life is what enables them to recreate it so powerfully in their work. Expert observers of human nature are the very best writers. They must notice the subtleties of thought, emotion, desire, and action that most of us miss as we operate on a frenetic daily basis. Even if we are not professionally required to be astute observers of human nature, we can all learn something about ourselves by paying attention like an author. Fiction can teach us how to approach people more carefully and compassionately by describing them perfectly. The more we learn about people, the more we will see ourselves. What is your emotional weakness? It is reasonable to assume that no one would want to feel sad, anxious, ashamed, or any other painful emotion. Every one of us loads a certain emotion and tries to avoid it, but no one is immune to any of them. People often try to avoid experiencing feelings of sadness by doing anything, whether it is excessive or even harmful, to distract themselves or numb them out. Even if they intensify painful feelings like anxiety, shame, and guilt by doing so, they will try to avoid experiencing sadness. The problem is that being so afraid of an emotion that we are willing to do just about anything to avoid it can lead to some pretty negative long-term consequences, substance abuse, for instance. More importantly, by staying away from the emotion, we are avoiding listening to what the emotion has to say to us. Painful feelings are painful because our mind is trying to get our attention, usually for a good reason. If we are willing to listen, learning to tolerate the uncomfortable feeling of our emotional kryptonite, the feeling we are most afraid to experience, can give us a wealth of understanding about ourselves and the world. Ask for feedback, and accept it well, so you can discover your blind spots. How do you make a decision when you are undecided? Do you seek out feedback about yourself on purpose often? Good feedback is one of the fastest and most effective ways to grow and improve. We should seek it out more often. The trouble is not just in what we can see. Our blind spots are the real issue. Other people are in a unique position to notice these and help us see them. Go on a mini trip. Being forced to be more self-aware by exploring new places and environments is how new things and environments can get us out of our routines. Most of us will have to settle for the self-awareness benefits of travel without having to go very far if we want to take advantage of the fact that we frequently jet set to exotic countries. The notion of micro-travel is that we can still adventure on a small scale. Perhaps you know your own neighborhood, downtown, and maybe a few other spots well. However, you might not know a lot about entire neighborhoods. This is a chance to explore micro-travel. You can get many of the benefits of travel, including a boost to our self-awareness, for a fraction of the cost in time or money if you can expand your idea of what travel means to include local or nearby locations that are still unfamiliar. Learn a new skill. Learning something new, whether via travel or study, forces us to think and act in new ways and helps us become more self-aware. It's very common for us as adults to become accustomed to doing the same things in the same way. You can become oblivious to the fact that you are actually not very good at something if all you are doing is doing what you already know how to do well. The idea behind a flexible mind is that in order to learn new things, the mind has to be open and unbiased, sort of like a child. In order to grow flexible and open-minded, i.e. be self-aware, you should seek to be a beginner. The best way to accomplish this is to learn a new skill. Learning a new skill is an impressive mental exercise in flexibility and self-awareness, whether you are Mandarin speaking or juggling. Recognize and resist mental errors, such as jumping to conclusions or obsessing over transitory events. Cognitive distortions distort what we see and distort our view of ourselves, so we see things in an inaccurate way and feel very painful emotions and moods. In much the same way, we can all develop unhelpful mental habits. The key phrase is inaccurate mental habits and self-talk. Identifying these patterns will boost your self-awareness and might even make you feel better. Clarify your values by making time. Unfortunately, the demands of daily life often cause us to lose sight of our values, leaving us without much time to reflect. It's not surprising then that you have difficulty reaching your goals and finding satisfaction, is it? It's not surprising, in other words, that we would end up chasing artificial goals that society and culture have taught us are important: nice car, big house, trim waistline, Ivy League schools for our kids, etc., but which we don't truly find meaningful and significant. When we become keenly aware of and in tune with the things that are truly important to us, we achieve a special form of self-awareness. It's hard to think about these kinds of issues, but that's probably because we don't spend enough time thinking about them. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that you give yourself the opportunity to ponder it. The phrase self-awareness can sound a bit mystical and mysterious, a complex psychological term for a mysterious process in human nature. It's simply the habit of paying attention to our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. With time and some practice, however, we can improve our self-awareness.